Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss the status and scope of dairy industry. Dairy sector is undergoing a number of changes all over the world. Factors such as availability of technological innovations, improvement in infrastructure and modern marketing insights have been significant to give a strong boost to dairy development. The changing trend of global dairy industry is noteworthy. This sector imparts a major socio-economic benefit for rural India. This benefit can be enhanced further while capturing the large unorganized market base of Indian dairy sector. Accordingly, the interest is to explore sustainable model of dairy farming, especially with respect to small, marginal and landless farmers. Now let us discuss about some challenges faced by the Indian dairy sector. India has a unique pattern of production, processing and marketing of milk, incomparable to any other large milk-producing country. India is the world's largest milk producer and consumer of dairy products, consuming almost 100% of its own milk production. The Indian dairy sector is different from other dairy producing countries as emphasis is placed on both cattle and buffalo milk. Following are some of the practical dairy farming challenges in India. Number 1. Shortage of feed and fodder. There is an excessive number of unproductive animals which compete with productive animals in the utilization of available feeds and fodder. The grazing area is being reduced every year due to industrial development, resulting in shortage of feeds and fodder to the total requirement. Ever-increasing gap between demand and supply in feed and fodder limits performance of dairy animals. Moreover, provision of poor quality of forage to dairy cattle restricts animal production. The low capability of purchasing feeds and fodder by the small and marginal farmers result in inadequate feeding. Non-supplementation of mineral mixture results in mineral deficiency diseases. High-cost feeding reduces the profits of the dairy industry. Number 2. Breeding system. Late maturity in most of the Indian cattle breeds is a common problem. There is no effective detection of heat symptoms in the cattle. The calving interval is on the increase, resulting in a reduction in efficiency of animal performance. Diseases causing abortion leads to economic loss to the industry. Mineral, hormone and vitamin deficiencies lead to fertility problems. Talking about the education and training. Vigorous education and training programs on good dairy practices could result in the production of safe dairy products. In this regard, education and training of all the employees is essential so that they understand what they are doing and develop a sense of ownership. However, developing such programs in the dairy sector requires a strong commitment from the management. Next is the health. Veterinary health care centers are located in far-off places. The ratio between cattle population and health facilities is wider, resulting in inadequate health services to animals. No regular and periodical vaccination schedule is followed. No adequate immunity is established against various cattle diseases. Talking about the hygienic conditions. Many cattle owners do not provide proper shelter to their cattle, leaving them exposed to extreme climate conditions. Contaminated conditions of cattle shed and milking yards leads to diseases. Unhygienic milk production leads to a reduction in storing quality and spoilage of milk and other products. So, talking about the marketing and pricing. Dairy farmers are not getting better price for milk supply. Due to the adoption of extensive crossbreeding program, the fat content of crossbreed cow's milk is on the decline and low price is offered as the milk price is estimated on the basis of fat and solid non-fat milk content. Feeding aspects and other challenges faced by the Indian dairy industry. The socio-economic conditions in India render the Indian dairy industry in sharp contrast to the nations who are advanced. The demand for milk and milk products is increasing. The dairy industry has to overcome several roadblocks before the challenge is met. Milk produced in India comes from buffaloes, cows, as well as very small proportion from small ruminants and camel. The major restrictions of the dairy sector are the low productivity and very large numbers of animals across the species. Proper breeding policies, management strategies and feeding practices would be necessary to upgrade the productivity of these animals. The indigenous cattle are well adapted to the tropical climate, owing to their inherent superior resistance towards heat and tropical diseases. However, the number of elite local breeds are depleting due to crossbreeding programs and lack of management and care. Crossbreeding of local cattle with elite exotic breeds has definitely contributed to improved animal productivity and increased milk production in the country. But poor heat tolerance and more exposure to disease and pests have proven to be a problem, leading to higher investments in their feeding and management. It is now being felt that while crossbreeding is here to stay, in order to maintain the milk production levels and meet the demand for milk, the germplasm of high-yielding indigenous animals should be conserved. The breeding policies should be such that the crossing of elite indigenous breeds with exotic germplasm should be discontinued. Embryo transfer technology, cloning, developing markets for diagnosis of diseases and pregnancy, proteomics, biotechnology and genetic engineering are some of the research and technology interventions that would help to generate national milk herd of animal with improved performance. Buffaloes being highest contributors to the milk bowl of the country, their breed improvement and management should not be ignored. Genetic improvement and conservation of high milk producing buffalo breeds through selective breeding in their home tracts is very essential to increase their milk production. Upgrading of nondescript buffaloes with the improved and superior breeds is another potentially important step. These qualities, if exploited, can lead to the dairy industry being the leading supplier of naturally derived milk. We will now discuss the adaptations to challenges and opportunities. Dairy market faces a volatile market like other agricultural commodities. This requires the balancing in supply and market demand. While looking towards this, there is a need to consider both domestic and global markets. Storing milk in form of higher shelf life products can be a supportive option. The changing patterns of consumer demand have influenced food production and consumption at various stages of value chain. It has led to a number of new value drivers for consumers in course of making food choices. Now consumers have availability of social media and communication where they can express their opinion. In view of today's competitive market, there should have the mechanism to provide consumers with relevant information in an open, unbiased and transparent manner. There is again a challenging task. In this regard, importance of 4 P's, those are product, price, place and promotion, as marketing tool can be successfully adopted. A series of key factors, namely population growth, urbanization, income growth, increasing middle class income, longer lifespan have led the increasing demand for dairy products, especially in developing countries. But faster growth in consumption of dairy products is observed in developing countries. Apart from supply and demand, milk price is largely dependent on cost of milk production. Both direct and total costs of milk production have been estimated as a function of distance. Although milk prices and costs are found higher with increased distance of production areas, but the increment remains lesser than transportation costs. Distance between place of production and marketing has a significant role in livestock farming. Cost of nutrient management system is a major part in computing cost of milk production. Now we will discuss about the status of dairy industry in India and its future scope. India became the world's largest milk producer, producing over 140 million tons in 2014 to 2015, outstripping the US almost 15 years ago. India's milk production accounts for 18.5% of global milk production, with most of it consumed domestically. India accounts for less than 1% of global trade. The per capita availability of milk in India stands at 289 grams per day. Backed by strong domestic demand, the per capita availability of milk is anticipated to reach 336 grams per day in 2017. Growing at about 10% annually, the Indian dairy industry is predominantly controlled by the unorganized sector, which accounts for nearly 85%. About 8 crore rural families across India are engaged in dairy production, and the rural market consumes over half of the total milk produced. Indian dairy sector is growing at 4.5% annually. Uttar Pradesh, with a production of 23.33 million tons of milk, Rajasthan with a production of 13.94 million tons, Andhra Pradesh with a production of 12.76 million tons, Gujarat with a production of 10.31 million tons, Punjab with a production of 9.71 million tons, Madhya Pradesh with a production of 8.84 million tons, Maharashtra, Bihar, Haryana are the leading milk producing states in India for the year 2015. The market size of dairy industry in 2010 to 2011 was 292,067 crores, which is expected to reach 710,596 crores in 2017. The non-fat dry milk is expected to touch 489,000 tons in 2014. Combined butter and ghee, which is the clarified butter, was expected to touch 4.88 million tons. Now, talking about the milch animals, which are India's asset. India has some excellent breeds. Among cattle, the Sahiwal, Rathi, Gir and Red Sindhi stand out as milk producers. For buffalo, the pride of place goes to the Murrah, Mehsani and Jafarabadi. India has the largest cattle, 185.2 million, producing 2.1 kg dairy yield per animal. That contributes 38% of total milk production. And buffalo population is about 97.9 million, producing 2.6 kg dairy yield per animal. That contributes 54% of total milk production in the world. Out of all bovine population in India, 40% are indigenous cows, 46% are buffaloes and 14% are imported European or North American cattle crossbreeds. 6.9 kg dairy yield per animal. Allocation of milk for milk products. In India, about 60% of milk is consumed in liquid form, while the remaining 40% is used in the form of butter, clarified butter, which is desi ghee, cheese, curd, paneer, ice cream, dairy whiteners and traditional sweets. Of the milk produced, 40% is used for or consumed on farm and 60% is sold. Of the milk sold, 70% goes through unorganized sector and only 30% via the organized sector. About 50% of the total milk produced in India is converted into traditional Indian dairy products. Now we will discuss the factors affecting growth in milk consumption in India. Number 1, population growth. Number 2, greater affordability due to increased disposable income. Number 3, increasing awareness and availability of dairy products through retail and food service segments. Further, increased consumer interest in high protein diets. Let us now throw some light on the factors impeding steady growth of dairy industry. Number 1, low productivity of milch animals, that is 987 kg per year versus 2200 kg per year as world average. Number 2, an upward spiral in prices. Number 3, lack of proper infrastructure like cold storages. Number 4, absence of a transparent milk pricing system. Number 5, lack of fodder results in low yield from cattle. Focusing on the dairy development in India. A lot of initiatives have been taken to have upsurge in milk production. Some of the crucial initiatives that have led to development of Indian dairy are discussed herein under few headings. Number 1 is the Operation Flood. The National Dairy Development Board, set up at Anand in 1965, drew up a program known as Operation Flood, commenced in 1970, to replicate the Anand pattern in 18 areas of milk production in the milksheds of Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta and Madras. The world's largest dairy development program, the Operation Flood, undertook the gigantic task of upgrading and modernizing milk production, procurement and marketing with the assistance provided by the World Food Programme, European Economic Community, the World Bank and other international agencies. The major objective was to provide an assured market round the year to the rural milk producers and to establish linkage between rural milk production and urban market through modern technology and professional management. Number 2, National Dairy Plan. In 2010, the government and the National Dairy Development Board drew up a National Dairy Plan that started in March 2012 that proposes to nearly double India's milk production by 2020. This plan endeavours to increase the country's milk productivity, improve access to quality feeds and improve farmers' access to organised market. These goals can be achieved through activities that focus on increasing cooperative membership and growing the network of milk collection facilities throughout India. Number 3, growth of Indian dairy industry. In India, Operation Flood, which commenced in 1970, introduced cooperatives into the dairy sector with the objective of increasing milk production, augmenting rural income and providing fair prices to customers. The Village Milk Producers Cooperative is the fundamental unit in the cooperative system. In addition to milk collection, the societies are provided with other services such as cattle field, artificial insemination and veterinary services. Village milk producers cooperatives in a district are members of their district cooperative milk producers union. Indian companies are preparing themselves to meet the international standards and other non-tariff barriers. Planners are taking measures to meet the sanitary and phytosanitary specifications prescribed by Officers International de Epizooties under the guidance of the World Trade Organization, which range from the quality assurance of processed dairy products to the health status of livestock. So now we are going to discuss the key factors about the Indian dairy industry. Indian dairy industry ranks first in the world milk production, producing about 140 million metric tons. Value of milk output from livestock is around 2400 billion. Value of dairy products market is around 4000 billion. Ice cream industry is around 25 billion. 70% of milk is produced by marginal farmers. 65% of the milk is sold in loose, not packaged. Only 5% of the milk is sold through retail chains. 70% of the milk is delivered to the homes by milk agents. Carton milk or packaged milk has been growing at 24% annually. Most branded FMCG companies are keen on launching flavored dairy products, whose market size is pegged at $166 million. The major breakthrough in Indian dairy industry. Some of the major breakthroughs achieved in Indian dairy industry include the following: automation in khoya production, design of process technology and equipment for the manufacture of peda, gulab jamun, chana podo, long life paneer, etc. Development of continuous lines including packaging for fermented milk, products like long life lassi, shrikhand, dahi and mishti doi. Processing technology for production of cheddar, mozzarella and emmental cheese, as well as variety of cheese spreads. Process of manufacture of dry mixes for gulab jamuns and frozen desserts. User-friendly milk testing kits. The status of milk products in India. The status of milk products in India is dealt under the following subheadings. Indigenous dairy products. An estimated 50 to 55% of the total milk produced in India is converted into a variety of indigenous traditional milk products using processes such as coagulation, heat or acid, desiccation and fermentation. The value of khoya and chana based sweets is estimated to be over 130,000 million. Khoya is used in making of different kinds of traditional mithais, sweets such as peda, barfi and gulab jamun. Some 9 lakh tons of khoya valued at 45,000 million is produced in the country. Another milk product of significance is chana, brought about by acid coagulation of standardized milk. It is used to prepare chana based sweets such as sandesh, cham-cham, rasgulla, etc. Approximately 1,20,000 tons of chana valued at 6,000 million is produced in India. The value of khoya and chana based sweets could exceed 1,30,000 million. With the innovation of scraped surface heat exchanger, the traditional sweetmeat products can be easily manufactured by the Indian dairy industry. About 15 plants in India have initiated industrial production of khoya with daily output of 1 to 4 tons using continuous khoya making machine. India produces about 9 lakh tons of ghee valued at 85,000 million. Buttermilk is the byproduct in the production of makhan. It is estimated that about 55 kg of buttermilk is produced for every kg of ghee made. The value of lassi is about 25,000 million. Talking about the cheese. The organized cheese market, including its variants like processed cheese, mozzarella cheese, cheese spreads, flavored and spiced cheese, is valued at 4.5 billion. Processed cheese, which assumes 60% of the overall cheese market, is worth 2.7 billion. The next most popular variant is cheese spread, claiming a share of 30% of the total processed cheese market. The market is reported to be growing at 15%. The market for cheese cubes, slices and tins is growing. Now the export of dairy products. From 2000 onwards, milk powder, casein, whey products and ghee from India have started making their presence felt in the global markets. Indigenous milk products and desserts are becoming popular with the ethnic population spread all over the world. Therefore, the export demand for these has gone up tremendously. Presently, ghee is being exported to Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Middle East countries and a modest quantity to North America, New Zealand and South Africa to serve the ethnic market. The World Trade Organization WTO regime is now a reality as India is a signatory under the WTO rules, has opportunity to extend its exports product base. It has become more open world trade regime where barriers to trade have been reduced. The major dairy products exported from the country includes skimmed milk powder, whole milk powder, ghee, butter oil, milk food for babies, buttermilk for babies, milk and cream, etc. Now the safety issues. In order to address food safety issues in the dairy sector, the central government has enacted a scheme called the strengthening infrastructure for quality and clean milk production, which is aimed at improving milk quality at the village level. The scheme involves monitoring data collected from milk collection centers, which is further analyzed by Food Safety and Standards Authority of India (FSSAI), officials involved in creating food safety policy. The future scope of Indian dairy industry. There is an ample scope in improving the productivity of milch animals. This can be done through progeny testing, feeding nutritive feed to milch animals, looking after animals' health, crossbreeding and so on. Only 30% of the total milk produced in the country is being processed by organized dairy industry. Ample scope exists in increasing this level at least to 50% level in about 10 years period. The microbial quality of milk is far from satisfactory. Awareness is to be created amongst milk producers for clean milk production. Sale of loose milk should be restricted, specifically through the legislation. Malpractices in dairy industry such as adulteration of milk and milk products, preparation of synthetic milk needs to be curbed completely. Improved packaging of the indigenous dairy-based sweetmeats is the need of the hour. Mechanization in the manufacture of indigenous milk sweets is yet to be perfected, taking into account hygiene, energy required, and environmental safety issues. There is a need to make milk free from antibiotics, hormones, and pesticides. Production of organic milk should be encouraged. Rabobank expects value-added dairy products such as yogurt, paneer, cheese, ice cream, and baby food to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 20 to 30% in the next 4 to 5 years. Out of the top 20 dairy companies in the world, 6 have already set foot in India in the same way or the other. Danone Food and Beverages, India has set up production base in India. New Zealand's Fonterra is exploring possibility of tying up with the local partners. The growth of food and coffee chains such as Cafe Coffee Day, Pizza Hut, Domino's, McDonald's are expected to help increase the consumption of value-added dairy products. There is enormous scope seen ahead before the dairy industry for value-added products, including custards, desserts, puddings, sauces, mousse, stirred yogurt, and nectars. Demand for processed and packaged dairy produce in urban centers is going to see a phenomenal growth due to growing population with higher disposable income and greater health consciousness. The dairy industry continues to be a significant and evolving sector in many countries around the world. It plays a vital role in providing dairy products such as milk, cheese, yogurt, and butter to consumers. The status and scope of the dairy industry encompasses various aspects, including production, consumption, technology, sustainability, and market trends. Please note that the information provided here may not reflect the most current developments in the dairy industry. The scope of the dairy industry. The dairy products. The dairy industry produces a variety of products including fluid milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, ice cream and more. The demand for value-added dairy products such as Greek yogurt and lactose-free milk has been on the rise. The functional foods. Dairy companies are increasingly exploring the development of functional dairy products that offer health benefits beyond basic nutrition. Examples include probiotic yogurt for digestive health and fortified milk with added vitamins and minerals. Dairy alternatives. The popularity of dairy alternatives made from plant-based ingredients, for example, almond milk, soy milk, and oat milk, has grown substantially. This trend has led some traditional dairy companies to diversify into the dairy alternative market. Exports and imports. Many countries participate in the global dairy trade, exporting and importing dairy products to meet their domestic market. New trade agreements and market access negotiations can significantly impact the scope of the dairy industry in different regions. The research and development. Dairy companies invest in research and development to improve product quality, extend shelf life, and innovate new dairy products. This includes dairy processing technology, packaging, and flavors. So, talking about the health and nutrition. The dairy industry is actively involved in promoting the nutritional benefits of dairy products. This includes marketing campaigns highlighting the role of dairy in bone health, protein intake, and overall well-being. Sustainability initiatives. Sustainability is a growing priority in dairy industry. Many companies are implementing eco-friendly practices, reducing emissions, and adopting animal welfare standards to align with consumer expectations and regulatory requirements. The challenges and the opportunities. The dairy industry faces challenges related to environmental concerns, changing consumer preferences, and competition from dairy alternatives. However, it also offers opportunities for growth through innovation and sustainable practices. Thank you all for joining today's lecture. I hope you found it informative